Hello and thanks for joining us for our review of the Storm Infinite PhysiX. Angel's up first at Royal Crest Lanes in Lawrence, Kansas, and she's our control. So always on the house shot, every ball will always have the same layout. This is for consistency from ball to ball and video to video, and she represents what the average bowler can expect on their regular league shot. The house shot is similar to Kegel's Easy Street, just a little higher volume, so medium volume, medium length, and average difficulty for a house shot. It's not tough, but it's not cake either. It keeps you somewhat honest, but you can see a lot of oil in the middle and not a lot on the outside. Her standard layout is 4 5/8 by 3.5 by 2.5. That's a medium layout. It's not super strong or super weak, and her other stats can be found in the description. She started off a little too straight. It looked good on good shots, but she didn't have any miss room. Now once she moved in a few boards, she had the world, especially if she missed inside. The Infinite can be a little tricky on the eyes. On some shots it can be really smooth, some it can be pretty punchy, but it has a very round shape, which is a bit of a different look for the PhysiX line, and I think with it being so round and continuous, that's what makes the optics a bit ambiguous. The original Astro and Proton were all fairly angular and slightly forward rolling, quite a bit like the reality line from Global. For those hoping for an Astro PhysiX or an altered reality replacement, the Infinite is neither. It's earlier and definitely stronger than the Astro. I'll have that comparison later in the video when we switch to me. And while it's altered reality strong, it's not altered reality sharp. We both have it between the altered and dark code as far as shape. It's the same overall strength, but it's not quite as long and flippy as the altered and not quite as early and smooth as the dark code. I'll also have a dark code comparison later in the video. The only issue she had was if she threw it too hard, it was a little late getting back. She was probably even a little too far left towards the end here. Of course, as I say that, she bends it like Beckham, but on nice, comfortable, good tempo shots, it reacted really well. In terms of where it fits in the line right now, it's a definite step down / complement to the Proton. You can see the Proton is much earlier, a few boards stronger. Like I mentioned with the shape too, the Proton is more of a defined but not necessarily sharp and slightly forward rolling arc, where the Infinite is very round and continuous, so it's a complement to the Proton both in terms of shape and strength. Comparing it to the Nova, it's still earlier and stronger, but it's kind of hard to tell if it's sharper. The Infinite is quite a bit sharper for me, but with Angel it's hard to tell. They're both kind of smooth or sharp when they need to be. The Nova is probably her favorite ball right now. It seems like it's in play on virtually everything for her, and obviously the reaction fits her very well. You just can't ask for a better matchup out of either the Nova or the Infinite, really. The Nova needs more dry to move than the Infinite does, though. They're about the same speed or response off the dry, but if she catches a little too much oil or gives it too much room, the Nova is weaker and slower than the Infinite is. The Nova is about a half step to a full step down from the Infinite. There's not as much separation as I expected there to be, but it is there. It's not as noticeable on the house shot as it would be on more volume. The Nova just doesn't have the teeth from the cover that the Infinite does. R2X on the Nova is quite a bit weaker than REX as I pop the chart up here, but the ignition core in the Nova is really strong also if we look at the core side of the chart, so that helps it somewhat keep up. I'm not sure I'd worry about the overlap here if you have a Nova, and if you like the idea of something that feels similar but that can handle more volume and angle, the Infinite would be a good choice. It's actually, I think, perfectly halfway between the Nova and Proton, so if you happen to be looking for something to fit there or shoot that gap, the Infinite is perfect. Flipping sides, I'm on the 2019 Open Championship singles and doubles pattern, 42 feet, 28.4 mils, so a couple feet longer and a fair amount heavier than the house pattern. I know it looks shorter than the house pattern, but that's just because there's more oil in the middle on the house pattern. This one's heavier and wider, it's a lot flatter and tougher, but lane graph reading is for another video. You've already seen a couple shots for confirmation that I am in fact on a sport pattern. Too far outside and you can just wave and turn around, get it inside, and it's going to take off. I'm using my typical asymmetric layout, 4 3/4 by 3.5 by 3.5. That puts the pin in the ring finger, which is why you can't see it on the photo because I drilled it out. I like this layout because it's medium strength, continuous, and it splits the gap between pin up and pin down. So it's not pin down smooth, but it's not pin up sharp. Nice blend of both. With the added volume up front, it's quite a bit more dynamic for me than it is for Angel. The left side is naturally a little sharper than the right, but it's not typically this different. This also lets me know that it's a truly strong ball. When you add more oil and more length and a ball hooks more and or gets sharper, that's verification because strong balls designed for heavy oil need heavy oil. If they don't have that oil, they bog down and burn up. Weaker balls will get weaker as you add more oil because they don't have the traction for it. So They'll skid and get lazy when you add more oil, so bowling on a few different patterns can really help you understand how everything in your arsenal fits together. So while I'm getting more dynamic ball motion than Angel did, it's still a very round and continuous shape like it was for her. I think it's a little too dynamic and or strong for this pattern though, or I just need more surface to blend it out. Now that might definitely make it too strong though. What it really reminds me of is a stronger original Rubicon, that strong and round look that can sometimes be smooth and sometimes be pretty quick depending on where you're playing and how you're throwing it. I can't wait to throw it on house shot. It feels like a really versatile ball. Now if you like our jerseys, Rosdahl 10 gets you 10% off your order at checkout at CoolWick. The code is in the description to copy and paste. Follow my Bowler's Mart link in the description to get the Infinite pre-ordered or for any of your other bowling needs that associate your purchases with me, which helps me out quite a bit, so thanks for using that. Check out the SRGBBFS group on Facebook for all things SPI, and of course thanks to Turbo and especially Storm for keeping us in equipment to show off to everyone. Also, there's a new super thanks button below the video on the line with the like and share buttons that allows you to leave me a tip other than the cats can't lift the seat. They lack the strength and opposable thumbs. Moving to the dark code, same layout, same surface, as I did reset it to the straight 4000 surface versus the 4K fast it came at. You can really see the difference the core creates. The dark is earlier and smoother, but exactly the same strength. As I move from zone to zone, I get the same general or overall reaction, just a little bit more controllable. It's more front to back than side to side though. What I mean by that is that it doesn't give me any extra board side to side. If I get it a bit out, it's going to hang, and if I get it in, it's going to move just like the Infinite did, but it gives me a bit more blend, which helps me at the pocket. Without the sharpness, I don't get those drive-by 8s, stone 10s, or stuff 9s. Now as far as overlap goes, there's quite a bit to be honest, but the small shape differences do matter as we can see. However, if you generally like the dark but it was a little slow or lazy for you, this might be the ball you were hoping the dark would have been. Now we'll take a look at the Astro PhysiX. I did take it to 4000 as well for a more accurate comparison. A lot of people got a look at the Infinite, and just from colors or a visual perspective, they thought, oh hey, this is an Astro replacement, and it's not. It's a fair amount stronger than the Astro, but it does mostly shape like it. This is my old ASIM layout, 5 by 3.5 by 2.5. Relatively small adjustment, but this layout was a little too sharp and forward for me, so the change I made just blended the back end more and made it a bit more continuous. So while I did want to point out the difference, it's not really that substantial or significant. It's just a slight adjustment. Due to the shape that the R2S pearl cover can create, and also the large amount of torque this core can create, it tries to hang out, but it's just a weaker cover, so it doesn't have the teeth. It doesn't get started up as soon, and as a result isn't quite ready to hook when it hits the friction, so it ends up being flat or late more often, especially as we get deeper where I have to slow the speed down slightly to give it a bit more time. We're still only on a medium long, medium heavy pattern, so while it's not a crazy difference, there would be even more separation on something like the PBA Dragon pattern. The Infinite would still be doing fine, and the Astro just wouldn't be able to get enough dig. So while it's not an Astro, if you like the Astro but wished it was stronger, the Infinite is absolutely that. For a more direct and visible comparison, here's a supercut of each ball thrown the same way on the same line back to back to back from each zone. So while it may be a little of a head scratcher at face value to have two ASIMs with the same exact cover and the same line, there is some separation and I see some direct use cases for them. I use the dark coat a lot, but sometimes it can be too early and slow, which can keep it in the bag when it's really close to being the right ball. But now having the Infinite alongside of it offers me a shape delta, and like I've said in some videos recently, I'm favoring ASIMs quite a bit, so I'm pretty happy with this release. For Angel, usually the Nova is the top spot in her bag because something like the Reality is too much, the Altered's too sharp, the dark coat is too much of both, but occasionally the Nova just isn't quite enough, so the Infinite really shoots that gap for her because it has more traction, but it also gives her the length and control on the back end that she needs. The Infinite PhysiX, along with the Idle Cosmos, releases on July 8th. I'll have more comparisons coming to help you get a better idea how it fits within the whole line, including Build-A-Bag videos for both balls on release day. And once again, if you liked our jerseys, use my code Rosdahl10 to save 10% off your CoolWick order at checkout. Use my link to Bowler's Mart to buy your stuff. Really helps me out. SRGBBFS group on Facebook. Thanks Turbo, big thanks to Storm. Thank you for watching, and may the strikes be with you.